In this video, I'm going to show you how to work with some handy functions in Excel. So you may think like functions, I don't want to hear about that's way too complex. I'm a historian. However, these functions, they're just different ways of computing things, and most of them we don't care about, but there's a couple of them that are actually very useful for maybe not only for history, but for your daily life. So just let's take this example. We have two students and we have their grades, which I'm sure that you're familiar with having to account for this situation and compare two people. And we can use Excel functions to help us with that. So if you want to have a look at Excel functions, you can look here, and then there's a ton of different types of functions that are very complex, and we don't have to go through them at all. I'm going to show you only a couple of them. One of them is just maybe you have come across already. It is for adding up things, and then it just works with the auto sum. Then say how convenient it is. Sum. This is actually a function, sum. Just let's cancel it for a second and then try to do the same. So we could say equal, then the name of the function, sum, and then we just can say, okay, from this number and then columns to this number, and then we add them up. See, the combined points. In this case, maybe it is this is the auto sum. Maybe it is not so interesting to count things, to sum the value of the things. We could actually do something else. We could count how many grades, maybe we can see how many we have, but then we just can count them. So we just say equal, we write the name of the function. It can be lowercase or uppercase. See that it gives us some different options, and then we just write the parentheses, and then it tells you, well, the values. And if we write a range as before, we just write the first, we write columns, and then we just write the last one to chemistry, and then we count how many. So we have 15 grades for 15 courses, which is perfect. And if we drag it to the right, again 15. That's quite easy. We can do with other functions that are very interesting. So we have the mean or the average, and actually let's just write average better, because actually that is how the function is called, average. There's several functions, but then just take regular average and just write the parentheses, and then again it tells you which is the range that you want me to do the average from. So we just take the first one, columns, up to the last one, chemistry. And then we have the average. We can do the same. This is student, and then for this other student. And then let's just put the same number of digits, something like that. Obviously, you could have done exactly the same thing if, let's do this, in fact, if we just take the total sum of the grades and we divide it by count, the number of grades. This is how you compute an average, obviously, but see, we can use AutoSum and we can use count to compute the average, or we can just use the function average, which basically does that for us. So to decide in each point. And later I'm going to show you another 3 things that you could find helpful. So for instance, let's think about max. Max is a very easy function, again just only max, and then we write range once again, and we get what? The max, the maximum number that we have. And see that it's interesting because this is student number 1, the maximum grade that he got was a 10, while student number 2 actually got a 12, at least one 12. Why is it interesting? Because it tells you something about how these grades reflect these students. If we see that we have an average of 720 and 713, it's not that different. But when we see, well, one of them actually, the one with the lower scores actually got a 12, but the other only got 10. That was the maximum grade. And we can do the same thing with the minimum. So we write min, we write the grade, and for and 2. This helps us understand the students better. See, you have the student that had 720. Actually, his grades were between 4 and 10, while the student who has a slightly lower average actually had a 2. So his grades were really all over the place. So the minimum and the maximum help us know where the different grades move. And finally, we have the mode, and the mode, it is just the most common value. In this case, which was the grade that he got the most. And then we see that the student with the 720, he got most 7, that was the most common. And the student with a slightly lower grade, it was 10, that he got many 10s, but and then if you see, his grades are all over the place. He got 12s and 2s, but then most of his grades were around 10. So these are the functions that help us understand a little bit better these averages and these cases. And for Danish, you have to write if you Excel is in Danish, you have to write the Danish names for the functions, which are here on the right hand side. But it would be the same. You start typing and then Excel will give you different options, but these are the ones that you need to use. And well, that was it.